Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. Seeing as how I admittedly rushed my last story, number 3374, into production before I had nailed down most of the facts, it's time to do some cleanup concerning the raid on the CIA servers located within the massive American consulate in Frankfurt, Germany. I had assumed that the door busting was done by Delta Force. However, the official line now is that the raid was conducted by a military unit attached to the U.S. European Command, with U.S. law enforcement standing by to take custody of the evidence. I still have little doubt that Delta personnel were involved, but for the benefit of our European allies, this is a more acceptable way to classify the raid. The U.S. consulate in Frankfurt is, as any embassy is, considered the sovereign territory of the national government, which owns and inhabits the property. Interestingly, all CIA personnel working abroad are never identified as CIA to the host country. They are under what's known as military cover. So, when abroad, CIA personnel have to take orders from Department of Defense personnel. Therefore, legally, if the CIA contractors guarding the CIA server base running inside the U.S. consulate in Frankfurt refuse to obey legal orders given by the commanding military officer in charge, they could be charged with disobeying orders at least. So that's the legality behind the raid. Whether or not there was a shootout and resulting casualties has yet to be officially announced. Why was it so important for this to be done by the book? Because now all the evidence collected can be used in upcoming court or judicial proceedings. One would think that conspiring to rig a presidential election would fully justify the charge of treason, which under military law still leaves open the option of the death penalty. As far as the video of the 40 V-22 Ospreys flying on election night, many people thought I was implying that this was video taken in Europe, but that was not the case. Those shots were taken by me. If you watch that video again, you will see that at 2 different times I cut the audio. Why? Because it contains the sounds of Beth and I talking back and forth about the remarkable thing we were seeing. We didn't know what was happening. We see V-22 Ospreys from time to time around here, not 40 in one night in a perfect train formation, each bird about half a mile apart flying low and fast. We didn't know what was going on, but being election night, the most important election of our lifetimes, we figured that something big was going down. What we saw in one 5-hour period was a full 10% of the V-22 Ospreys in the world flying in one direction, low and fast, on a moonlight election night. I sat on this for nearly a month because I didn't want to reveal anything about troop movements. We figured it would come out eventually, but it hasn't. I am fairly sure now where these V-22s originated from and where they were going to, but that part I will not reveal because it may reveal classified information. Here are the V-22 clips again, but with the audio edits removed. I think it's basically 3 clips edited together. The reason I didn't use all of them was that for the first few waves we figured that would be the last one. But they just kept on coming and coming. Every 45 minutes or so, there'd be another flight until the last one was around 2 a.m. By then, as soon as I heard them coming over the trees, I grabbed my cell phone camera every time and ran out through the door madly trying to get video going as fast as I could. Boy, that one is low. There's 3. I don't want to give up their flight path or our location, so that's why I tried to edit out any identifying information. Special operations methods and movements are typically shrouded in secrecy. I don't ever remember hearing any sort of detail concerning any of their operations. If I would have had the capability to create a sign large enough, I would have invited them to land for a free cup of coffee. And besides, how do I know that was a special operations flight? I'm just guessing, but it's a darn good guess because do you know what these birds cost per hour to fly in 2013 dollars? $83,000 per hour. Now multiply that times 40 and that comes to $3.32 million per hour to do something, to transport something wherever they were transporting it to. So I'm pretty sure that something was some cargo that was pretty important to the safety and security of the United States of America. On election night 2020, it's easy to make an informed guess what that may have been. And besides, it's worth cutting loose a little inside information because the American people need to be reassured that at least our military is willing to do something like spend $3.32 million per hour to try to prevent this coup from establishing a stranglehold on our nation. For the last 4 years, there has been a whole lot of talk about doing something and very little action from most of our government, except for everything that President Trump has implemented, plus one half of the Congress. The people need some hope. One last item. I mentioned that the moon was full that night. Actually, the full moon occurred at 10:51 a.m. on October 31st, so election night November 3rd was 3.5 days past the full moon.
And when the votes are really audited and the real votes are counted, Trump will win. He is the president, and he is in charge of this country.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.